From today, applications have opened up for new Garda recruits. Anyone up to the age of 50 years old who may be interested in becoming one of our frontline workers can apply for the position. The three-stage application process will determine those suitable for the job. Now, joining me to talk about this in more detail is the President of the Garda Representative Association, Brendan O'Connor. Brendan, good morning.
Good morning, Pat.
Now, what do you expect from this? Do you expect a good uptake?
Well, we're hoping for a good uptake. Of course, we all know that Garda numbers are not where they ought to be. They're very far behind. We've just under 14,000 members at the minute. The target was 15,000 by 2021. So the members I represent are hard pressed on the front line and really want it to be a success. We want to be positive. We want to tell a good story. But unfortunately, the experience of a lot of our members is negative, and we have to represent them and tell their story. And the numbers of people that are leaving the job, either through retirement as soon as they can get out or earlier than they are obliged to leave, and also resignations, are indicating that maybe it's not a work environment that's overly appealing, and with full employment and a lot of opportunities, we have to wait and see. But target recruitments in the last few years have not met where they should be. But hopefully we will see a pool of people come forward and put themselves forward.
Have you examined the application and what candidates must achieve to be considered?
No, I think there's no real change. As you say, people have to have two languages, one of which must be English. They must meet a basic educational requirement, and also they have to have a level of fitness to pass the Garda test. So just people of reasonable health with a good attitude and a reasonable accomplishment to education can put themselves forward. And of course, the age limit has been raised, so there's a wider pool of people now that can be drawn upon.
Yeah. Now, if you're, say, 18 and you apply for the Garda Síochána, you'll go in and you'll be paid as a trainee, and eventually you'll start off at the bottom of the ladder. What about someone who might be at the other end, approaching 50 and fancies a career in the Garda Síochána? Will they have exactly the same starting conditions as an 18-year-old recruit?
Yes, the same conditions will apply, and everybody starts on an even keel. So that's where we see a challenge in attracting people of a certain age with that life experience. But certainly there is equality there, and there's no preferential or there's no better treatment for anyone. Everyone starts on an even keel, which is something that the association would actually welcome, because we don't want anyone leapfrogging across our members who have experience and put in the hard years.
Yeah, but the whole idea was to get people with more life experience into the force, wasn't it?
It was indeed, yes. So I think the financial conditions that you alluded to there will not attract people who are of a certain age, unless they're either prepared to take a very large drop in salary or have the means to subsidise it. But certainly most people in their 50s or in their 40s who have commitments would struggle to survive on 305 a week for 32 weeks and then start at 35,000 salary. I don't think that's attractive.
Now, some of them might already have experience and might even have accrued some pension rights. For example, if you were in the Defence Forces.
Yes, Defence Forces, public servants, teachers, nurses, I'm not sure about nurses, but people that are teachers that can carry service across. It's very intricate, the legislation around pensions. But yeah, some of them will carry their benefits, but no salary benefits. They will all start on the bottom scale, on the first increment of the pay scale. Now, people with educational qualifications like degrees may be qualified for accelerated accrual of increments on the pay scale, but they will start on the bottom scale, which is in around 35,000.
Now, nationality requirements that people have to be either a member of a European Union state or part of the United Kingdom and Northern Ireland or the Swiss Confederation. But you could also be a refugee or a family member of such a person in relation to whom a refugee declaration is in force and continues to be in force for the entire duration of the Garda selection and admission process. Now, obviously, people who come with, English, I think, is probably a prerequisite. English plus another language. Often that was just Irish for Irish-born recruits. But obviously, we do need Garda Síochána on the front line who speak different languages. So those kind of people would really enhance the force.
Yes, I mean, we have a very diverse society and a very diverse culture, and a Garda Síochána needs to be able to provide a service and be reflective of the society serves. So certainly, people of all different creeds and ethnic backgrounds and diversity are very welcome and indeed embraced, and that's something that we look forward to, is seeing a more representative service for the public that rely on us. So certainly, it's certainly it's a progressive step to see that change.
Yeah. And the education requirements, I mean, if to translate it into purely Irish terms, you've got to have an Irish Leaving Cert with a grade D3 or a minimum of 06 in 5 subjects at ordinary level. In other words, you don't have to be Mr. Brains or Mrs. Brains to get into the Guards.
No, the academic requirements are not particularly high, but it is a degree course, and it's accredited to the University of Limerick. So that's another plus for people who are considering a career, that they at the finish of the training will actually have a degree in applied policing. So that is another attractive element of the job. But
and
again,
then there are international equivalents which will also be accepted.
Yes. So it's very much a kind of a common sense attitude. Someone that has reached a reasonable standard of second level education and shown a proficiency in the basic skills that are required to be a police officer will be welcomed into the organisation.
Now, the way you're talking about it, people are leaving the force earlier than they might. Meantime, the Garda Commissioner today is launching this programme to attract people. So can you tell us any reasons why people might join? I mean, you've been saying why they shouldn't join or wouldn't join, but what about reasons they might join?
Well, I suppose the thing about policing as a career choice is that I suppose there's a great variety in it. No 2 days are the same. You meet people for every different background. It gives you an insight into how society functions, and you meet everybody. There's also that element of a buzz and adrenaline, maybe, that there's a bit of excitement. So that might attract people, and then there's a huge variety. I mean, you can join in Guards as a recruit. You can join, you can go into roads policing. You can, ride a high-powered motorcycle. You can be in the air support unit. You can fly in a helicopter. You can get involved in crime scene investigation. You can get involved in fraud. There's a lot of opportunities within the organisation. So it certainly provides a lot of opportunities. And then there's also the promotional prospects if people choose that career. So there's both lateral and upward movement available to people. So certainly great variety. I mean, I certainly would say I've enjoyed my own career, and much as I'm on the radio giving out about different aspects of the job, I certainly have enjoyed my time. But unfortunately, a lot of the members I represent wouldn't have that experience and are saying that in recent years they've seen a change and it's not as positive as it was.
Yeah. Would younger people be a bit miffed if older people who come in at the same level as they do, but because of their maturity, their life experience, they get promoted more quickly?
Yes, that's an issue that we have grappled with, and we see direct entry in other jurisdictions, and people would feel, as I say, if you've done the hard lifting in a tough station and you put in the years, and you see someone come in from outside, because the principle of seniority is something we always hold dear in the organisation, so that would cause difficulties. So I can't really say how, but just people feel that you earn your stripes, as they say, and you put in the hard years. So certainly we should all start in an even keel. And then people who are I suppose one of the grievances a lot of people have is access to training. So stuff like driving courses, we've members with 10, 15 years service. The only course they really want is a driving course. It's there to provide them. It allows them to provide a better service to the public, and they can't access it. So certainly we wouldn't want to see people coming in and getting access to stuff that existing personnel are crying out for.
I'll read you some of the text coming in. The Gardaí do the fitness test once. That's it. Then eat all the donuts you want while stamping passports. That's a cynical view, perhaps, but it's true, isn't it? There's not an ongoing assessment of fitness.
There isn't an ongoing assessment of fitness.
So is that not a nonsense? That someone can come in lean as a whippet, fit, going to the gym every week, and then they get the job and just slobber away?
Well, I think, in fairness, that's a very it's a derogatory way to describe my colleagues.
No, but you know what? I'm not. Oh no, I'm not describing all your colleagues by any means. I'm saying it's possible to go down that road because your fitness is not kept under review.
Well, that's an issue for the authorities and for management, and they haven't brought that in. And we, as an association, of course, would be resistant to members putting additional requirements on members.
Why would you be resistant as an association to keeping yourselves trim and fit?
Well, because it's some people can find it a challenging lifestyle, and shift work is unhealthy. But what we would say is, rather than putting those requirements on people is put the support in place, educate people, train them, put facilities in place that members have access to gyms, better access to cooking facilities so they can prepare meals rather than having to buy processed takeout meals late at night. And government policy is to promote healthy living and healthy eating, and certainly there is an ethos of that within the Guards. But certain individuals may have their own personal struggles, and I think they shouldn't be subject to commentary such as that.
Another one, the Garda Síochána have fallen at the first fence. Experience has to count for something. Expecting someone in their 40s with a family to start off at 35 grand a year is a laugh. I'd read the second one that's related to that. The public sector protectionist idea whereby regardless of how qualified you are, you start at the bottom of the scale. It's such a typical trade union approach to talent and a meritocracy. Why would any talent work for an organisation that rewards those that last longer rather than those that work better? That's from Mike.
Look, that's a very valid opinion to have, but unfortunately, my job as president of the Garda Representative Association is to represent the interests of my members, and I'm articulating how my members feel who have done the hard lifting and put in the years. And I'm sorry if people have a contrary opinion, but I make no apologies for representing my members.
Yeah. I mean, there was criticism before that it wasn't what you knew, but who you knew in the Garda that got you pushed up the ladder. That people had the old pals thing, and you'd like to hope that was gone and that people were, they got their increments based on time served, but that promotion was achieved through ability.
Yes, well, I think the promotion scheme, certainly from Garda Sergeant, has changed in recent years, and a lot of that subjective element has been taken out of it. So we have seen a bit of progress in that nature. But I mean, to talk about the organisation and the filling of positions, we just see that over the weekend it has emerged that nobody has come forward that's suitable for appointment to the deputy commissioner's position. So again, that's kind of reflective of the organisation and where it is, and maybe problems that exist. So I don't have all the answers, but I can just tell you the problems from my members' perspective.
Another one says, is Brendan encouraging people to join the Guards or leave the Guards? That's from Tom.
Hey, I'm not encouraging. Well, I would hope to encourage people to join. I'm not encouraging anyone to leave. I'm merely articulating and explaining the perspective of the members I represent and their experience within the organisation. It's a fact that we have unprecedented people leaving, and we would say the tagline for management is it's a job worth doing. I would say if it's a job worth doing, it's worth supporting the people who are doing it already and stopping them leaving. And we think more can be done on that front.
Yeah. Another one says, the Guards paying a 50-year-old the same as an 18-year-old for equity's sakes is just silly. Payment should be based on what people can offer and what can be afforded. I never understood the socialist attitude in the public sector. That's from Ted in Dungarvan. Experienced Gardaí have left in droves. There's no incentive for them to stay on. I'm a retired Garda, but still very active, and I work full-time. While serving, I was a full-time radio control room operator, and several years when the AGS were recruiting, crying out for operators, I applied, but nothing more. Incentivise senior members to stay is the advice from that person. On Garda recruitment, the Examiner last week had a naval service recruit earning 39,000 per annum. A Garda recruit earns 305 by 32 weeks, which is 9,760. It's disgraceful. No wonder the numbers are low. That's in the training process. Just to go on to something that's positive, if you joined late, when do you have to leave? I mean, if you joined at 49, do you have to leave at 65?
No, it's at 60. 60 is currently the mandatory retirement age. So
you have 10 years to build up a bit of a pension.
10 years to build. Well, look, at the pension is the major issue, and the pension entitlements have been diminished since 2013, and we would see that as a huge factor that's driving the failure to retain people who are recruited post 2013. So the GRA are very focused on trying to achieve something on that front, but it's standard public service pension, which is not attractive. So traditionally, policing has always been a difficult job, but I suppose one of the pluses was you look forward to a quite a healthy pension, and that's no longer a case. So we believe that's a key piece in the retention argument.
Yeah, but if you put in the years, you get a very good pension, don't you?
Well, there's three categories of people. If you put in the years, the current recruits who put in, if they put in their full up to 35-year service, will have a very, very meagre pension. I think it's in the mid-teens is the best they can hope. for. So certainly it's not like the old pensions where guards could retire and get a half salary and a significant gratuity.
Gratuity. We're witnessing the dropping of standards to become a Garda in Ireland. In Britain, they've accepted people with past criminal convictions, according to one texter. Up to the year you finish in the army, you have to do a fitness test. It's age adjusted, but you have to do it regardless of rank or age. The Garda and the unions, as usual, doing their best to protect the lowest common denominator by avoiding doing ongoing fitness tests. Imagine a police force blocking the annual fitness assessment of its members. Brendan.
Pat, all I can say is I'm guided by the policies adopted by my own executive and our delegate conference, and we are so far we would be against it. But we're all in favour of supporting and encouraging our members and providing better education and better facilities for them to maintain a healthy lifestyle. Definitely, we're very pro healthy lifestyle.
I suspect, though, listening to you, Brendan, that irrespective of what your members' policy might be, that you yourself favour keeping fit.
Well, look, Pat, I think it's incumbent on everybody to look after their well-being and their wellness, and the Guards puts a particular challenge on you both physically and mentally and emotionally. So it's important for all our members to focus on their well-being, and something we would definitely actively support.
It can be, as you already pointed out, quite an exciting life, lots of opportunities to do different things, and there may be those who are, already well started in a different career who may be attracted to this if they can afford to make the change. Brendan, thank you very much for joining us. That's Brendan O'Connor, President of the GRA.